Okay, I got the green light that we're ready to go. I want to welcome everyone. We're calling this meeting to order. This is the Successor Agency meeting. Good evening and welcome to the Monday, May 24th, 2021, 6 p.m. regular meeting of the Bell Garden Successor Agency to the Community Development Commission. The meeting will now come to order. Pursuant to Executive Order N2920, please be advised that members of the Bell Garden Successor Agency may participate in today's meeting telephonically. Agency members and staff are participating from remote locations. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting live online through the city's website as noted on the agenda. If any agency members should have a conflict of interest, virtually please leave the room by turning off video and muting yourself. You may still keep listening to the meeting. Invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight's invocation will be given by Pastor Leal, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by our city manager. Pastor Leal, welcome and take it away. We can't hear you, Pastor Leal. You might be muted. Okay, it looks like you're not muted, but we still can't hear you. Let's give it a few seconds, see if we can figure out what the issue is.
Hello, Marco.
Okay, I can hear Mayor Pro Tem, so I can hear also Councilmember Chavez. So I believe we have a technical problem there with Pastor Leal. What I can do is, I do have an invocation here. Do we give it a couple more seconds to see if we can resolve it, or should we move on?
Pastor Leal, this is Michael Kelly, City Manager. On your Zoom screen there, do you see on the bottom right, there's a translation bar. Mine is set on English. There's an off Spanish, English, mute original audio. Can you click on the English selection? It's an interpretation. You can hear her? No, okay. Earphone volume's too low. Thank you, Councilmember Flores. We'll check earphone volume. You guys are hearing sound from Councilmember Flores or none?
I'm not hearing Councilmember Flores either.
You're hearing Councilmember Chavez?
I hear Councilmember Chavez, yes. I'm assuming Councilmember Cortez is speaking right now, but I cannot hear her. Okay, so there is an issue, not just with Pastor Leal, we have an issue with several of our colleagues here.
Mayor Barson, I maybe recommend if we can take a recess here to get this figured out. There's multiple channels that aren't hearing people.
We are going to take a quick 3 to 5 minute break starting now to try to address these issues and resolve the problems. We'll be back in 3 to 5 minutes.
Councilwoman Alejandra, can you please say something just to test it?
I have mic set up.
Looks like she's talking, but I can't hear it.
Do you talking? Oh yeah, I can hear you now.
Unmute all.
Unmute or yeah. No.
The little English, Spanish, put unmute on all audio. That's what I have. It worked.
Councilmember Cortez, can you say something? I'm testing out these settings here. Okay, I can hear you now. So the solution, just for everyone that's out there, the solution is if you look towards the bottom right, there's a circle that says either English or Spanish. If you go ahead and click on that, there should be an option all the way to the bottom that says unmute original audio. Make sure you click that once, and that should resolve the problem. Let me go ahead and check with Pastor Leal to see if Councilmember Chavez, do you mind saying a few words to see if we can confirm that it works now?
Testing.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
Able to
Sounds
hear
like
staff
we.
as well, Mayor?
Yes, I can hear you, Gus, loud and clear.
Wonderful, thank you.
Pastor Leal.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear
Hello?
you now. Okay, so it looks like we're good to go. We're gonna go ahead and move forward with the invocation with the help of Pastor Leal. Thank you, Pastor Leal, for being here and helping us out with this.
It's an honor. Thank you, Mayor and councilmen and councilwomen and all the employees that I see from the city. Very nice people. I just have a scripture that I want to share with all of you as we get ready to pray. And it's in Proverbs 16, verse 3, which it says, commit your works unto the Lord and your thoughts will be established. Let us pray. Let us remember as we pray, we come into the presence of God. Father, we want to just thank you for the team that you have put together in our city, our mayor and our councilmen and women and all the employees. They do such a great job. Father, we know that all wisdom, it comes from you. So we turn this meeting into your guidance, and may your presence and may your spirit be upon this meeting, guiding each one of them. So Father, you will be done. We ask this in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pastor Leal, and thank you everyone for your patience. Now we are going to listen to the Pledge of Allegiance by our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor Barcena. Please rise, face the flag, place your right hand over your heart and pledge with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, City Manager. Agency Secretary, will you please call the roll of the successor agency?
Yes, Chair. Agency members Chavez,
Present.
Cortez,
Present.
Flores,
Present.
Vice Chair Polito,
Present.
and Chair Barcena.
Present. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Legal Counsel, will you please give the closed session report for the May 24th, 2021, 5 p.m. successor agency meeting?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The City Council and the Successor Agency is now back in open session, having met in closed session to discuss item number 1 on the City Council agenda, entitled Conference with Legal Counsel regarding significant exposure to litigation. With respect to this item, the City Council received a briefing from the City Attorney's Office, but did not take any final action tonight in closed session. Concerning the 2 items on the Successor Agency agenda, the Successor Agency did not discuss item number 2 on the closed session agenda. With respect to item number 1, Successor Agency received a report from Successor Agency Council. Direction was given, but no final action was taken. I'll also note for the record, Mayor, that Councilwoman Lisette Flores appeared during the entirety of closed session. And I'd also like to state for the record, with respect to the first item on the Successor Agency agenda, direction was given, and Councilmember Flores voted no on the direction. Thank you.
Thank you, City Attorney. We will now move to the first item on the agenda. Public participation is now open. Agency Secretary, are there any public speakers?
There are no public speakers, Mayor.
If there's no objection by the agency members, I will close public participation. And now we are going to the consent calendar. Does any member of the agency wish to pull any item for separate discussion? If there are no motions, I will go ahead and call a motion to approve the items on the consent calendar.
I'll go ahead and
move.
second that motion.
Second.
Okay, so I had a motion by Councilmember Chavez and a second by Mayor Pro Tem, is that correct? By Council, okay, so by Councilmember Flores. I will go ahead and take it to a roll call. Chavez,
Yes.
Cortez,
Yes.
Flores,
Yes.
Vice Chair Pulido,
Yes.
and yes for myself. So the consent calendar is approved. And now we are going to go ahead and move to public participation for non-agenda items. Public participation is now open. Agency Secretary, are there any speakers?
There are no speakers, Chair.
Okay, seeing none. If there's no objection by the agency members, I will close public participation. Does any agency member wish to make a comment? Okay, seeing that there aren't any comments, if there's no objection by the successor agency, I will adjourn the successor agency meeting at 6:25 p.m. and call to order the city council meeting. Good evening and welcome to the Monday, May 24th, 2021, 6 p.m. regular meeting of the Bell Garden City Council. The meeting will now come to order. Pursuant to Executive Order N-2920, please be advised that members of the Bell Garden City Council will participate in today's meeting telephonically. Council members and staff are participating from remote locations. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting live online through the city's website as noted on the agenda. If any city council members should have a conflict of interest virtually, please leave the room by turning off video and muting yourself. You may still keep listening to the meeting. City Clerk, will you please call the roll of the City Council?
Yes, Mayor. Council members Chavez,
Present.
Cortez,
Present.
Flores,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Polito,
Present.
and Mayor Barcena.
Present. Thank you, Madam City Clerk. City Attorney, will you please give a closed session report for the City Council?
Yes, Mayor, previously I gave the report for both the Successor
Okay.
Agency and the City Council.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And now we do have a presentation that I'm going to read here. It's a proclamation for the Building and Safety Month. Just want to show you guys a beautiful proclamation here. And we do have staff from this department, the Building and Safety Department, and we really appreciate you. And this is what the proclamation reads. Whereas during Building and Safety Month, we recognize the role of high quality building standards and the code officials and developers who take into account the safety and economic value of our homes, buildings, and infrastructure. And whereas building and safety professionals are key to the community's resilience in the face of challenges ranging from the COVID-19 pandemic, earthquake threats, and more. And whereas in coordination with California state agencies that implement the California Building Standards Code, building and safety professionals work year-round to ensure the safety of Bell Gardens' built environment. And whereas the building and safety professionals who safeguard the places where we live, work, and learn and who ensure our buildings and physical infrastructure are not only safe, but resilient to protect the investments of homeowners, local governments, and businesses. And whereas building and safety professionals ensure our buildings are constructed using an energy efficient, climate resilient, and sustainable framework and meeting the needs of the community today, as well as future generations. And whereas this year's Building and Safety Month, with the overall theme of prevent, prepare, and protect, building code save encourages all of us to reflect on the important work of code officials to protect our homes, schools, and other buildings, not only in response to times of crisis, but in ongoing planning for a safe and sustainable future. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Marco Bárcena, Mayor of the City of Bell Gardens, together with the City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of May as Building and Safety Month in Bell Gardens, California, to honor the building and safety staff who provide services to our residents and visitors. Proclaim this 24th day of May, 2021. Thanks again to everyone in the Building and Safety Department and in the Planning Department as a whole. We really appreciate your involvement here in the city and the hard work that you've done, including throughout this pandemic. And I really mean that. Thank you.
Mayor, if it's okay with you, I'd like to say thank you to George and Amelia for being here tonight and accepting this proclamation. I couldn't be prouder of two individuals who are very hardworking, and you know, they make our city proud.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yes, and I would like to invite Emilia if she has any words that she would like to say. Don't feel pressured, but I do want to open it up since you're here virtually.
Can you hear me?
Oh, it's a little glitchy. Okay, no worries, Emilia. I think the audio's not working.
That's not okay. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. We do have George here, and I believe George is going to go ahead and say a few words. George, did you want to have a few words? No? Yeah.
There's not much I can say other than, yeah, it's a joy to work here. You know, it'll be 35 years in June. I really enjoy what I do, obviously, and I care for the community. I care for the safety, and I do my best on a daily basis to assure the safety of the residents, business owners, and just of the community in general. And I take pride in what I do and do my best to assure, again, the safety is as I would expect the same thing in my city, that they would have the same interest in protecting all, you know, the family and community in general. But I thank our staff, our director, for the support that we've always had, and with Amelia also. We fight often, we debate often, we argue often, but at the end, we get the job done. And through the pandemic, it's been very difficult, very challenging, but, you know, I think thank you to both of us that we are actually making things happen, even as difficult as it's been. We're still out there issuing permits on a daily basis, making appointments, trying to bring in that very needed revenue into the city. But again, thank you all again. Gus, thank you. Amelia, thank you. And that's it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks again, George. Really appreciate those words also.
Mayor, can I say something?
Please go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to thank George and also Ms. Amelia. Every time I'm there, they're very courteous and very nice. And even though sometimes, you know, what George demands out of us, I say it as a pastor of a building and as a citizen, we don't like, but he's always right. And he's doing it for the good, you know, of all of us. So as a pastor here in the city and as a citizen, I'd like to thank you and appreciate their great work that they do. May God continue to bless them and keep them well and safe. Thank you.
Great words. Thank you, Pastor Leal. Okay, we will now move to the first item on the agenda. Public participation is now open for items listed on the agenda. City Clerk, are there any speakers?
There are no speakers, Mayor.
Okay, seeing none, if there's no objection by the City Council, I will close public participation. City Manager, will you please give your report?
Thanks again, Mayor Barcena. I'd first like to announce that we have our new Public Works Director, Grisel Chavez. She started with us last Monday. Comes from the city of Norwalk with about 15 to 20 years of experience in public works and public safety and municipal environments. Very happy to have her here. It's a very important position. The Public Works Director works with everything from parks maintenance to streets, sidewalks, water, trees, a lot of the day-to-day things that residents rely on to get their children to school, get themselves to work, and to also have recreation opportunities. So very happy to have her here. Also, just our calendar is chock full of items that residents and council members and other stakeholders would be interested. So just a plug for the city council at bellgardens.org. Some of the things coming up tomorrow are COVID-19 vaccines, Bell Gardens High School and at Bell Gardens Veterans Park. Bell Gardens High School is for first and second doses, and that's for ages 12 and up. Bell Gardens Veterans Park tomorrow is from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Second dose of Moderna. That's 18 and over. Scholarship program Friday, May 28th at 5 p.m. is the deadline for scholarship applications for Bell Gardens seniors. Also, just next council meeting is not until the second week of June, and so between now and then there will be a Memorial Day ceremony at Veterans Park at 10 a.m. on Memorial Day. And there is an upcoming food distribution. We'll get some more information out on social media, but it's one of the large-scale food distributions that we've done, not one of the bi-monthly or semi-monthly ones. So this will be for food up to 2,000 families. This will be at Ford Park on Saturday, June 5th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And this is a city event, so you'll see a lot of city volunteers out there on this one. So I thank you, Mayor Barcena.
Thank you, City Manager, and welcome again, Director Grisel Chavez. And just to point out, she did go to USC, so she's a Trojan, just like our council member here, who's also Chavez. So I assure you there is no correlation there whatsoever, but just a nice commonality.
We're gonna turn this town into Trojan town, man. Fight on, always.
Fight on, fight on. And now we are going to move to the consent calendar. Does any member of the City Council wish to pull any item for separate discussion? Okay, seeing none, may I have a motion to approve items 1 through 7 on the consent calendar?
1 through 7. I'll
Okay,
second.
that was Councilmember Flores with a second from Councilmember Cortez. And I will go ahead and take it to roll call. Councilmember Chavez.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Cortez.
Yes.
Councilmember Flores.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Pulido.
Yes.
And yes for myself. So the consent calendar is approved unanimously. And now we are moving on to the discussion items 8 through 10. City Manager, will you please announce discussion item number 8?
Yes, thanks again, Mayor Barcena. Item number 8 is consideration of an ordinance. This is really a cleanup ordinance that amends the date of the organization and selection of the mayor, chairperson, and mayor pro tem vice chairperson for the successor agency and for the council. This is commonly known as the reorg. So the current municipal code does not line up with the actual municipal elections as conducted by the county's registrar of voters. And so this one seeks to line up the reorg process so that it lines up with the actual certification of election results. It spells out really three sort of time frames so that the reorg will line up with those results. So in the first regular meeting in December of odd number years, and the purpose there is in odd number years, there is no city council election. So it's very obvious we're not waiting on certification results in odd number years such as 2021, 2023. We'll know who constitutes the council at that time. And so it would occur at the first regular meeting in December. Number two, for even number years. In even number years, there are scheduled to be council elections for the city of Bell Gardens. And at that time, we would generally start as default with the first meeting in December, but that would be subject to the election results being certified. So that would occur if the first meeting in December weren't able to happen. It would be affected as soon as the results were certified. And then also as a catch-all, in case there are other unforeseen circumstances, we've also included for council's discretion that at any other such time as a majority of the council, so show order consistent with the requirements of state law can also do a reorg as well. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions, and also I'll invite our city clerk to make any comments if she sees fit as well.
Thank you, City Manager O'Kelly. I know it can be kind of confusing with the what are the municipal code states and what our government code section states. I wrote down on my little PowerPoint that government code section 36801 requires that the city council of a general law city select its mayor and mayor pro tem at the first meeting following the declaration of the election results. And elections generally occur at 30 days after the election. In 2016, the city synchronized its general municipal elections to the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November of even numbered years to coincide with the statewide general election to increase voter participation. And the city adopted ordinance number 881. Currently, like Mr. O'Kelly, City Manager O'Kelly stated, Bell Gardens Municipal Code Section 2.04.20C regulates the selection to a date which falls prior to the certification of the final election, which can result in a shorter term for the mayor and the mayor pro tem. So that's what we're hoping to fix tonight with the recommendation that the city council introduce and conduct a first reading of the proposed ordinance, which is attached to the staff report, amending the Bell Gardens Municipal Code by approving the first reading. That concludes my little take, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Any questions or comments from my colleagues? Would anyone like to make a motion?
Yes, Mayor, I'll go ahead and motion to approve.
Okay, that is a motion by Councilmember Cortez. Do I have a second?
Mayor Barcena, I had actually a quick question.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So I was kind of confused in regards to the last part of the way it was drafted. After I had a brief meeting with our city manager in regards to this, and briefly I had come to the conclusion of the reason why we're doing this essentially is because we want to make sure that we're not violating our code, right? Because the way it's stated is that if election results are not certified by the first meeting in December, we can't therefore do an reorg, and therefore we're violating our code. Now, can't we just amend the code to be in coordination as soon as results are certified instead? Like, would that be an alternative? And I don't know if legal counsel can maybe chime in here and say, you know what, maybe that could be also another way of approaching this. So if the issue is with election certification results and making sure that we're in line with those results until they come in, and making sure that we don't violate our own code, can we just pursue to just change the code itself and state that we will do the reorganization of council after elections are certification of results? Can we just do that?
Sure. Yeah, Mayor.
Please,
Mayor.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Thank you, council member. Your recommendation is is in line with what I believe is being proposed here. We're proposing a change to the code, and we need direction from the city council to select one of these three options. I think the option that you're looking for, council member, would be to have the rotation occur at the first regular meeting in December in odd number years after certification of the election results by the LA County Register Recorder. Is that what you're looking for, Councilmember?
Yes.
So that would be an option under number 3 if you wanted to make it specific in terms of when you select a mayor and a mayor pro tem. You could certainly adopt what I just read into the record as one of the options.
Thank you so much.
Councilmember, if I may, just for clarification purposes, this is Stephanie Vasquez. So the way that the ordinance is currently drafted as it stands in the code, it's not in sync with the elections. So right now it says that the certification will be in odd even years. Since 2016, as Jane mentioned, our elections are in even numbered years. So this is giving us the option to handle elections for odd even years on the first meeting of December, since there's no elections there. So the reorg would be on the first meeting in December. And the even number years when we do have elections, it would be after the certification of the elections, which is pursuant to the government code. The third option, and these are all within one motion of an option. So these would all be the options. You're not picking one individual one, it's all of them together.
Oh, these are, okay,
so
that was confusing. Okay.
So if, for example, in the future, the elections again change and we happen to be, for some reason, in March in an odd year, and we're again not complying with the municipal code, the third, which number 3 allows you to still elect a reorg or do a reorg, but by the majority of the council. And the reason why we have that there is that as it stands, the municipal code right now allows for this third option. So in the last 2 years that we have not been compliant with the elections, this has been the venue for us to be able to elect or to reorg.
Thank you for that explanation, and thank you, Councilmember Chavez, for the question. I believe it's very clear that this solution here, the proposed staff recommendation, provides the flexibility that we need to improve our code and gives us all the options. So I will go ahead and second the motion that was made by Councilmember Cortez. And unless anyone has any other motions, I will go ahead and take it to a roll call, starting with Councilmember Chavez.
It'll be yes.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Cortez.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Flores.
Yes.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Pulido.
Yes.
Thank you. And that's a yes for myself. So motion carries. City Manager, will you please announce discussion item number 9?
City manager has stepped out.
Okay, the city manager is at a slight break right now, but I believe he's actually walking right back in here. So there he is. Welcome back, Mike. Okay, we have our city manager here now. City manager, will you please announce discussion item number 9?
Thank you, Mayor Barson and council members. I appreciate the patience as well. This item here is the residential permit parking district ordinance. So this item was brought to the council 2 weeks ago and has been refreshed. The discussion items that we went through 2 weeks ago, we took the direction from council. We've reintroduced this item in that fashion. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the presenters so that we can go through some of the details there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Doug Banash, city engineer, members of city council, mayor pro tem, thank you again. We're here tonight to talk about the residential parking permit policy and update you on what transpired at the previous council meetings with some questions that we were in. But in summary, next slide. We'll just briefly go through the rules on the next slide, please. We'll briefly go through the rules and benefits of the permit parking district, how to apply for a parking permit district, the application process, applying for the permits and payment information, number of permits available and rules regarding those guests and guest parking, and additional, we'll talk about preferential parking. Next slide. Our goal for the parking permit program was to add another tool in the toolbox for residents to relieve and mitigate some of the parking concerns that they have raised over the course of the last several years. And the parking district probably being the last tool in the toolbox. We have gone through allowing parking in front of your driveway as a policy statement. We've also introduced potential for parking tees. And now this is one of the last tools in the toolbox for consideration. Next slide, please. What is a residential parking district? Well, basically we set up a block of residents who have determined that they want to have permanent parking on that block. Next slide, please. Why do we do a parking permit policy? One is for less noise in the community, more opportunities for residents to park in their household, and try to prevent overflow vehicles from parking in their neighborhood. Next slide. The simple rules are once this permit district is established, they have to display the permit during parking restriction hours. A vehicle cannot be left parked more than 72 hours. And a permit does not exempt from following the basic traffic controls, whether it's street sweeping, road work, red curbs, blue curbs, and so forth. And the permit, just to reiterate, does not guarantee a parking space. Next slide, please. There are exemptions in the parking permit policy for certain vehicles. Those are basically repairs and service maintenance vehicles operated by utilities, fuel delivery, or even delivery trucks from Amazon. During a reasonable time, they conduct their business. Police and fire and other law enforcement agencies have full access to the streets for parking purposes, but you will still be allowed to lawfully park your vehicle that has a disabled placard for the California Vehicle Code if you have that. Now, how to apply for an application. Next slide, please. Typically, we'll have a resident come to the office or make a phone call requesting they want to establish a parking district. We will then develop a map for them to use along with some petition forms, and then that person will then go back to the community to obtain signatures. We will need 70% of the dwelling units within that proposed district, which will be typically a block by block street segment. And we need to have 70% of the dwelling units within that block, and that's anything less than 4 units. 4 units or less. If it's 5 units, then we wind up the big Skinner apartment complex, and they're ineligible for, and will be excluded from the parking district. The petition standard format, we require the name, telephone number, email, and addresses of all the applicants signing the petition form. And then we'll also indicate the restricted hours for the parking prohibition. Next slide. Upon receipt of that information, the traffic engineer will work with the police department and staff to evaluate the proposed parking district, evaluating the criteria within the policy. And once that is completed, we'll make a recommendation to the public works director. We'll take the traffic safety, and then ultimately make a recommendation to city council to establish the district. Once the resolution has been established, next slide, please. Once the resolution has been passed by the city council, and we met the application criteria for the president, it'll be for the district. Wait, skip the slide. I'm sorry. Go to the next slide, please. Then we go back to the parking district. Okay, I go to the next slide. I'm sorry, I skipped ahead a couple slides. Once we establish a parking district by resolution, then we put the signs. We won't put the signs up until at least 50% of the residents have applied and obtained the permits. That way we have at least 50% of the original signees and or others within the district have purchased permits, and we'll install the signs. So that's one of the big caveats just before we put the signs up. We won't put the signs up unless until there's at least, if we put the signs up and no one bought a permit, then there's no enforcement and there's no permits out there. So it's sort of mitigate some of the funding expenses for the city. Next slide, please. Once the district has been established and the people who want to come in and get a permit for that parking district, basically they need proof of residency, utility bill, vehicle registration, a driver's license, and also law, and proof of auto insurance. Next slide, please. Payments and fees will be returned to council at a later time and maybe amended from time to time. At this time, we don't have a recommendation for the fees. The next slide, please. The number of permits. Each residential dwelling unit will be allowed one permit, and one permit only per that. That one residential dwelling unit will also be allowed, if you go to the next slide, to get a guest permit. And that'll be for a temporary parking permit, so it'll be valid for a 24-hour period. To address some of the concerns we had at the last presentation, we will include, go to the next slide, additional preferential parking permits. This is for a dwelling unit that requests to have 2 parking permits. The only caveat to that, that eliminates the ability for that dwelling unit to get a guest parking permit, but they'll be allowed to have 2 permits. But they just eliminate the gate, but they forfeit their opportunity to get the guest permit. Next slide. If there's any questions, I'm here to answer. Now, there was a couple of questions that were addressed at the last council meeting that were to be specifically addressed as part of the discussion tonight. And one of those would be the hardship considerations, where residents can have 2 permits, but again, they lose. It's our recommendation that they lose the ability to get a guest permit, just to mitigate the impacts of parking on the streets. The other item of discussion was to remove the 50% non-resident section. That was removed from the policy. Also, that was dealing with if we were to document and or adjust or review impacts of parking from other whether it's commercial and or other apartment units within that parking district. We eliminated that section in order to promulgate the ability for these residents to establish a parking districts. And then we talked about changing the petition. No, we removed the item, adjacent blocks, non-residents. Okay, remove the non-residents, removed the impacts regarding adjacent blocks, primarily from commercials. And then we concur with the 70% application rate for number of residents we're requesting that. And then we have a request if we had an estimate, if the parking study provided an estimation of how many on-site vehicles were parked. I apologize, our parking study did not explore that number, nor do we have any data to substantiate what that number could be. And with that, I'll entertain any questions.
Do any of my colleagues have any questions in regards to the presentation or any comments?
Mayor Barson, I apologize for interrupting. It's Michael Kelly, City Manager. I just wanted to clarify that, Doug, I think you're mistaken on the requirement for there to be non-residents within the proposed district. I think we'd kind of gone back and forth, and there was a discussion among the council about removing that number to 0. I think it initially was 50%. This is Roman numeral 4 of the policy.
Yeah, you are correct. We did remove that.
But I'm seeing on the policy that we've still got it at 25%, which I think was the recommendation from your engineers. I think that was Sean's recommendation.
Yes.
To keep that at 25% as opposed to just removing it all the way down to 0. And I think the reason being there was, correct me if I'm wrong, is that if there aren't 25% of non-residents, being those that don't live on the block, if there aren't 25% of non-block residents coming in and parking, then really you're just dealing with residents, and maybe there is not that significant of a parking issue, and there may actually end up being some parking spaces that are left open. So I just wanted to make that clarification there, that the 25% is there. It was at 50%. There was discussion about moving it to 0, and I think there was some strong indication on the part of our engineers to keep it at 25.
Yeah, and your analysis is correct. It does give the opportunity to, if that's that threshold, then we'd be able to find out if the district might have more parking available to them, which I think is a greater benefit to that district.
I do have a question Doug, in regards to this particular item here, the 25% as it shows on the ordinance right now, the original number was 50%, right?
Correct.
Why do you think that that is the recommended number initially?
Initially, that was, we reviewed other parking permit district policies from the surrounding jurisdictions. And that was the kind of the number that they were using from that standpoint. That's basically, we were not trying to reinvent the wheel, but we were using policies and procedures that were similar to our neighboring jurisdictions.
Okay, because one of the angles that I was exploring while thinking about this policy was, imagine we have a whole block, and for whatever reason, the people that live on that block, there's only a few people that park in the street. Let's say everyone is parking inside their driveways. But for whatever reason, those residents don't want anyone else parking on their block. Is there anything that could protect them, well, protect the rest of the residents from that block getting together and passing a parking permit? And what you will end up with, if they don't even park in the street, will be what I would consider to be wasted parking spaces. See, I'm not sure if this relates to that. Is that the reason why this 50% exists? I'm just unclear on whether that issue is something that you've seen in other cities, or it could potentially be an issue here.
It could, if this were to be I think 25% is a reasonable number. And yes, your analysis would be correct. If these residents specifically do not want to have cars parked on their street, yeah, they can establish a parking district, and then no one's parking on the street because we've excluded, you got to have a permit to park on the street, which is a whole nother dynamic. Typically, in areas, and basically even in Bell Gardens and other jurisdictions, it is, the right of way is considered public right of way. It is not the curb, the curb frontage is not under the ownership of the property owner, though people do believe that it is. That's why you see people park cars, move cars, do whatever. But technically, it is not under their ownership. And so, having the threshold where we try to see what impacts the neighborhood, and my feelings would be, if this program is implemented, we will get certain neighborhoods that will ask for this and certain neighborhoods that will not. And so I think it's going to filter itself out as the process goes through. And I think 25% would be the reasonable number to try to mitigate what your proposal or what you think could potentially happen on a street like that.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, questions from my colleagues?
Yeah, I wanted to add something. This is Councilwoman Flores. So I just want to reiterate what I said on the last council meeting, how requesting 70% of signatures to be able to acquire a permit just seems unreachable, right? So there are some streets and some blocks that are just completely overwhelmed, saturated with homes and people that live in them. And it just seems that, like I said before, if the census wasn't able to get not even, 50%, how are we going to expect our own residents to canvass the street and acquire 70%? And it just seems like $40,000 later of a parking study, plus I don't know how much more we're spending. It just doesn't seem like we're appropriately addressing this in a way that makes sense for the constituents. If they're the ones that requested some sort of parking solution, I don't know if this is a solution or not, but I know it's an action that we're taking, and we already invested a lot of money in trying to find a solution, and to put a 70%, requirement of signatures just seems like we're the ones creating that roadblock from there. Now, even to acquire a speed bump, which is more impactful on the street, you only need 2/3. And we're asking for way above what we're originally have established. So I feel like we're being unfair with this process. And I want to request what I did before, to leave it at the same as, requesting speed bumps, which is 2/3, or put it at the same rate, even lowering it at 50, 60%, but 70%, it's insurmountable for our community. And it seems like a waste of time and money.
Any other comments or questions? Any motions?
I'd like to motion to approve this, but at the 51% signature rate.
You're muted.
Are there any seconds for that motion? Okay, I will go ahead and motion to approve it as it's being brought back to council. At this point, what is the action that staff is seeking from council, the direction, city manager?
Yes, Mayor Barcena. So basically, what we're seeking is for adoption of this ordinance. So upon approval from the council, this ordinance would go into effect. And what we're looking for, like I said, we brought it to the council 2 weeks ago. This would establish permit parking districts, which are blocks basically, and establish a process for residents to establish these districts. I think with what you have here addresses obviously not 100% of every concern that every council member has, but I think it's a good middle approach from the council. So we're seeking adoption, and also because we're modeling this on several other local cities that already have parking districts, and we've seen varying degrees of success. The intention here would be to come back to council in the 3 to 6 month period of time, if not sooner, if we see that there are blocks or districts that are seeking to implement these ordinances and they're coming up short. They're coming in at the 65% or the 66% level, or anything over 50%. I think that would indicate a concern to the staff that we would bring back to council and potentially look at revising this ordinance.
And Mayor, if I may,
please.
The appropriate motion here, I think that was your question, would be to, if you're so inclined as a council, would be to approve ordinance number 913. That's what's before you here tonight.
Thank you. So I just want to say that, having listened to my colleagues and their suggestions, we did modify the initial ordinance as it was brought to us. We brought down the percentage from 75% to 70%. I personally feel 70% is a good starting point. As our city manager mentioned, we have the ability to fine tune as we move forward. However, I will be just cautious to reduce that requirement to something below 70, just for the simple fact that a speed bump is not as intrusive or as potentially problematic as the disagreement of several community members living on the same block. And I do want to be mindful of that, which is why I'm being cautious with the percentage, and I want to leave it at 70%. So having said that, everything else seems to be on the right track. Also, the reduction of 50% non-residents to 25%, I think that addresses a potential of maybe wasting some of the parking spots. And I think that the 25% definitely works better. So I would like to go ahead and motion to approve ordinance number 913, and I'm looking for a second.
I'll second that motion, Mayor.
Okay, that's a second by Councilmember Cortez, and I will take it to roll call. Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Cortez?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Flores?
Yes, I'm voting yes, because I think that this is the best possible option, though I don't agree with the percentile, but since it's the best, I will vote yes.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Pulido?
Yes.
Thank you, and it's a yes for myself. So motion carries unanimously.
Mayor Barcena, if I may.
Yes, please.
Well, now that we approve this motion, what I would ask for staff and specifically our public works, essentially, along with the commission, the Traffic and Safety Commission, moving forward, is to really try to push an educational component of this, making sure that our community has the opportunity to kind of see how the process is moving forward. And I would even take it a step further and invite us ourselves as council members to go directly and say, hey, you know what? If you're not comfortable going out there and knocking on doors, asking to go ahead and move forward with this, we can make ourselves available and we can go ahead and help them out, canvass those streets, because essentially we've already done that to be able to be up here. So I think we should share our experience, having knocked on neighbors doors, getting to know our folks, and essentially really help them out, establish this sort of parking district on their own street. Because I'm pretty sure a lot of our constituents, we all know that parking is such a difficult, it's a very concerning issue for our community. So what I would say is, if we know that there's an issue on a street and community members have been, complaining or have been mentioning it constantly, hey, you know what? We need to get parking. We need to get parking permits. We need to have a parking solution. We just did that right now, or we're trying essentially. Right now, let's go ahead and take action. Our staff, let's go ahead and move forward and put out an educational component, whether that's setting up a workshop, helping them out, filling out the application, all those little things that we need to move forward. So again, I want to make sure that, for our public, if you know if you live on your street and you need assistance, knocking on doors, gathering signatures, by all means, I'm here to work on that, and I'm here to serve you, and let's work together on this issue, because parking impacts not just a certain street, but it impacts all of BG, right? And I'll even take it a step further, it impacts the whole sellout region. So I'm glad that we took a step with this, and I'm making myself available. And if anybody needs assistance in trying to get these signatures, in trying to pursue a parking district on their own street, let's get to work. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Chavez, for your comments, and I'm sure staff is available to assist, just as they are with speed bumps and everything else, to assist our residents. So you guys are also welcome not only to reach out to your council members, but also to reach out to staff and their respective departments. Okay, City Manager, would you please announce, oh, I'm sorry, this is already item number 10 that we're on now. City Manager, will you please announce discussion item number 10?
Yes, thanks again, Mayor Barcena. This item on the surface is pretty simple. It's an approval of an MOU with Fair Housing Foundation to assist the City of Bell Gardens with the State of California Rent Relief Program. But it's a unique item, so it's been placed on as a discussion item. So the City of Bell Gardens Community Family Service Center is the only identified site in Southeast LA County to process the State of California rent relief applications. And we're actually the only city in the state of California that's been authorized to process these. It's garnered a lot of attention from Congresswoman Lucille Roybal-Allard, also from the county supervisor, county officials. I think you were on a conference call a couple of weeks ago with federal, state, county agencies. So I want to give you opportunity for our Recreation Community Services Director Rosanna Danto to provide some additional information before seeking the recommendation to approve this memorandum. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. The report before you is exactly what Mike just mentioned. The city, over the last year, our department has processed well over 1,500 applications of rent relief with the county, and we've been transitioned or requested to transition to the state. And the MOU is to partner with the Fair Housing Foundation. And I put together a PowerPoint just to kind of go over what the housing program is. Next slide. So the state program name is called Housing is Key. It's the COVID-19 Rent Relief Program. And it's to provide financial assistance to any residents in the state of California who've been adversely affected by COVID-19. It allows the state to pay the landlords up to 80% of what is due. If a landlord, and we've had plenty of landlords who've refused to take the payment, refuses, we can make the payment directly to the tenant, although it's only at 25%, and it does pay for utilities. And the challenge for our residents is that everything has to be filed online. And so we have a number of residents who are challenged, electronically, or maybe just don't have the aptitude of knowing how to navigate the system. And so that's what our staff has been doing. We created a few flyers. We've been on social media. We've been processing applications since March for a second go round of funding. In the first funding phase, we did give out $10,000 per family or per tenant. And as Mike mentioned, just as of late, there's 12 agencies that are providing, it's the next slide after that, residents this service. Again, City of Bell Gardens is the only entity in Southeast Los Angeles County that is providing this service. Most of them are located on the west side. And because of that, we want to be able to expand our outreach. If we partner with, in this MOU with the Fair Housing Foundation, what that'll do is allow Bell Gardens staff, you want to switch it? It'll allow Bell Gardens staff to stay here local providing services. And what we'll use the Fair Housing people for is to be able to go out to our neighboring communities such as Huntington Park, Bell, Cudahy, Commerce, where there's also a need. They too were a partner of LA County RAP program. We were 1 and 2 as the highest producing agencies for the RAP program. So it just kind of made sense to partner with them. So right now the state has agreed to pay us $691,000 to process the 1,200 applications. And we feel we can do that in about 3, maybe 4 months maximum. And then what'll happen is we will then seek additional funding from the state to increase our capacity and provide additional rent relief. This Wednesday, Lourdes Castro Ramirez, who is the Secretary of Business and Consumer Services and Housing Agency for the state of California, is coming to Bell Gardens. And we will be hosting a workshop with all of the agencies here in LA County. They will also be touring our facility to get a look at how we're processing applications, because again, our numbers are outdoing the numbers of any of the agencies. Just recently, they added an agency here in Whittier, but their service hours are only a couple days a week. We provide services 6 days a week and evenings. And so in conclusion, I am looking for the approval of the MOU to partner with the Fair Housing Foundation in the amount of $250,000 for them to process 500 applications through the state. They will also host they will all be mobile. So those applications will go out. The 700 applications that we will be processing will be, a majority of them will be Bell Gardens residents. Happy to answer any of your questions.
Mayor, may I?
Please go ahead.
Well, it's not so much of a question, but more of a commendation, Roseanne, to you and your team of this amazing work that you continue to do. I think this is a testament to our Parks and Recs department, and I am so happy to support this. That's not a motion just yet, it's just a comment. But I do want to congratulate you and also thank you for all the work that you continue doing for our city.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments?
Mayor Barcena?
Please go ahead.
First off, I mean, I'm not surprised at all that our recreation, culture, and youth staff, have been able to accomplish this. Really thank the folks that are continually processing these applications, residents who really have trusted our workers to give them this sensitive information, because it is sensitive information, right? And again, no surprise at all that our staff can pull this off. And just really want to thank the rec staff for coming out and continually putting in work day in and day out. So huge thank you to our department.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mayor Barcelona, this is Councilwoman Flores, if I may.
Please go ahead.
Well, I think that as you know, the elected officials for a city with a percentage of over 80% of people who rent, I think it's only right and adequate and a privilege and an honor to be the city that is doing this in all of Southeast Los Angeles. And I wanted to, you know, congratulate Roseanne and everybody who's been doing this, but also to the other assembly folk and legislators who were able to make this possible. And with that, I'd like to go ahead and motion the approval of this MOU so that we can continue to help our constituents out and those that really need it and were affected by COVID. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have a comment or questions? Okay, I will go ahead and I do have a comment. I just think this is a great example of the type of work that has been done here in the Community Services Division of the Recreation and Community Services Department. And the reason why I specifically mention that is because when I was a recreation leader for over 10 years, I really did not witness a healthy side of community services. And what the director managed to do here is completely flip that and really create valuable service in an area that it was basically non-existent. I mean, the benefits are clear, but they go beyond the obvious. In this particular case, not only are we getting funding for our residents, but our entire department, including staff, is gaining new skills. I'm talking about recreation leaders. They're gaining new skills by providing the services that will follow them through their trajectory and the career that they choose to be in. And that in itself is a huge value, especially given that we have so many residents that are our recreation and community services employees. So to me, that's like killing two birds with one stone. And I think it's just great. So obviously I'm going to support this. And I would like to go ahead and second the motion made by Councilmember Flores. And I will go ahead and take this to a roll call. Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Cortez?
Yes.
Councilmember Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Pulido?
Yes.
And yes for myself, so motion carries. And thank you again, Roseanne, for the great job. And thank you to recreation staff as well.
Mayor Barcelona, if I may, I do have a quick question.
Please go ahead.
So in regards to, and this is maybe city staff could help us out, and maybe city manager can, Mike can already chime in regards to this money that is being compensated to the city, how much of that percentage would potentially stay within the rec and community services department as they have been the ones that have been putting in the work towards getting this funding? What I would ask is that to the bare minimum, let the Recreation and Community Services Department have priority once it comes to the $691,000, since they've been the ones that have managed to secure these funds to our city. I just want to ensure that maybe, you know, if any of that has even been thought about, and making sure, because I think in previous council meetings, there's been discussions about, you know, redeveloping or beautifying or improving our parks as a whole. And what better way than, you know, with this $691,000 that we're going to be compensated to stick within the recreation community services department. You know, that I don't know how much of that conversation has taken place, but I'd love to see that moving forward.
If I may, in this fiscal year, it was 1.2 million. And then in this next fiscal year, it'll be 691. And I believe in the budget process, we have requested funding for specific items, and that's something that it'll be at the pleasure of the council to determine how that, but the money is put into the general fund, and then it's determined how that goes. And it's been an honor to provide this service. It's again, it's a much needed service. My staff has been extremely motivated, because I'd say more than 90% of the staff live here in Bell Gardens, And so they're helping their neighbors, they're helping the community. And so they've been extremely motivated, and absolutely they are to be rewarded. They have worked day, night, coming in on weekends to assist residents, making numerous phone calls. And I think that that's what sets us apart from some of the other agencies, where we do a number of follow-up calls in trying to work out details between the tenant and the landlord, because sometimes the landlord does not want to participate for whatever reason. But my staff has been extremely motivated, extremely caring through this whole process, because as you mentioned, it is true. They're trusting us with a lot of personal information, and we understand their hardships. And from that, they've been able to roll over into some other programs that we offered, the utility assistance, the housing, and other, food assistance and those type of things. So thank you for your comments. And yes, absolutely. My staff is here to serve, and we want to just continue to do a good job here in Bell Gardens and serve our community. So thank you very much.
Mayor Barson, if I can just add too, just a little more specifics kind of on the number side of it is, the compensation isn't just free money. That money goes to actually pay for the salaries and benefits, or at least salaries, depending on the staffing levels of the employees that are processing. So, one of the things I think you saw during COVID, as Roseanne mentioned, the 1.2 million during the COVID environment, you saw a lot of local cities had laid off their entire parks and recreation staff, whereas we were continued hiring and kept employees. And so most of this money goes to actually fund the services that are being provided. There is some fund that's left, monies that are left over that goes into the city's general fund coffers, but generally speaking, it goes to fund the actual program itself.
Thank you so much for that response. I guess moving forward, as we're going to be covering the budget eventually, coming as this fiscal year is going to end, briefly, I would encourage our council to, continually observing that our Recreation Community Services Department has gone above and beyond, not only working throughout this pandemic, servicing our community by giving them literally boxes of food, right? Putting food on the table for our residents, but also helping them out with rent relief applications, utility assistance applications and whatnot. So again, moving forward, let's make sure we consider that, and this funding, 1.2 million. Wow, that's incredible. That our ROCY services has been able to provide. So let's consider that in the near future.
Thank you, Councilmember Chavez, for your comments. And now we are moving to public participation on non-agenda items. City Clerk, are there any speakers?
There are no speakers, Mayor.
Okay, seeing none. If there's no objection by the City Council, I will close public participation and move on to City Council member comments, starting with Council Member Chavez.
Thank you so much, Mayor Barcena. 7:26. Okay. Just want to make this. Just want to go ahead and speed run through a couple of things. Our city manager did mention them already, but I just want to go ahead and reiterate. Tomorrow, our Recreation and Community Services Department has been doing this back to back, and they're going to do it again tomorrow. Now in two sites, Bell Gardens High School and Veterans Park. Vaccine clinic for our community that hasn't gotten vaccinated yet or is seeking information about it. Make sure you attend the vaccine clinics that we're doing. We're having them weekly. Tomorrow we're going to have two of them. One of them is only for second doses for Moderna at Bell Gardens Veterans Park, and the other one is at the high school, Bell Gardens High School, at for the vaccine of Pfizer. If you have children 12 years and up, they can go ahead and get vaccinated. So that's another amazing thing that we're going to have in our own community. So I've been attending every single vaccine clinic that we've had. Really great turnout. We seem to be getting a rush around 6:30, 6 o'clock. Not 6:30, 5:30 to 7. And I did go ahead and comment with a couple of the staff there. And it seems that I don't know how much this has been in discussion, but potentially maybe extending the vaccine clinic till maybe 8 p.m., seeing as there tends to be a rush hour right after people are getting home from work, or maybe they need to leave a couple things at home and then go get the vaccine. But this is something that I've noticed. I've been out there helping out, wiping down chairs, making sure that everybody's spacely distanced. Tomorrow should be different, as I'll have to attend both, the one at the high school and then the one at the Veterans Park, but I'm pretty sure our recreation and culture and community services can go ahead and handle that, no problem. Went ahead and I attended the Mother's Day paint party event at the Bell Garden Senior Center. I think it was about 2 weeks ago, and during the week of our council meeting. It was really great to see our seniors out there again. You know, a lot of joking around and just making sure that, you know, they had a great time. I want to go ahead and give out a huge shout out to one of our recreation leaders. I think her name is Ale, and she goes ahead and she has this amazing art, form. I don't know how to describe it, but just tremendous talent. And I thought it was amazing that she loves arts and whatnot. And I'm glad that we have her on the team, and the seniors certainly love the work that she did. And we went ahead and we raffled off her painting. So the seniors are really happy that we're having events again. We look forward to having more events with the seniors as well. Food distribution. We're gonna have the big one coming up on June 5th. So that's not this Saturday, next Saturday. So hopefully we can all come out. It'll be a great event, and I'm looking forward to it. Let's see, we had a renters' rights workshop. Well, there was a renters' rights workshop held by ECR Communities for Environmental Justice. You know, there was about a couple of the residents came out, you know, explain for not just Bell Gardens, but all over Southeast. We had people from Carajay. We had a person from El Sereno, which is like Northeast LA. You know, just coming out and explaining to us the situations that they were going through with their own contracts with either with the LLC or with their landowner. So I'm glad that East Yards has been putting in the work and educating the community. And not just that, but on Saturday, I noticed that they were canvassing our own community. They've been giving out little flyers, or like little door hangers that says, "Renters, you have rights," and it explains. Goes ahead and gives them a bullet list of like the rights that they have as renters, and it has information about renters workshops and whatnot. So really glad that East Yards is doing this work, and just really I love the fact that they're really inspired by our community, and they're really helping us out. So again, thank you for that. See, we want to go ahead and give a commemoration or celebration to our Bell Gardens High School boys basketball team. Yeah, they won league champs. This is something that hadn't been done since prior to the 2000s. So I mean, after 23 years, I mean, I'm 23, so that was before I was born. So I'm really glad that after 23 years, our Bell Gardens High School basketball team won league champs of the All-Met League. So huge win there. Really proud to be a Lancer, and just huge congratulations. I think next meeting we're gonna hold have a proclamation for them, and I'm just really glad that they're gonna get recognized. And at the same time, our Lady Lancers also came out in second place in the league, and they also made it to CIF. So really glad to hear that our Lady Lancers basketball and our boys basketball have done amazing in basketball, and just really go ahead and rooting for them. So with that said, that pretty much wraps up my announcements. Going ahead, and everybody is having a great time, and really appreciate this meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember Chavez, for the comments. Councilwoman Cortez.
Yes, thank you, Councilman Mayor Barcena. For my comments, I just want to persuade the community. We have a deadline coming up, as our city manager mentioned, May 28th, for our scholarship. Please apply. It has great money prices that can be very useful when you are attending college, whether it's a community college, four-year university, or wherever you're going. It can help you buy some books. It can help you, pay some of your tuition, whatever it may be. Please go ahead and apply, submit your personal statement on all the other requirements. It is due May 28th. And we're very happy that we are having this program for our community, and we hope to continue it in the future years. And just wishing everyone a good night, and all of our employees, every single department. I'm very grateful for every single one of you. All of you have contributed to the city of Bell Gardens during this past year and a half that has been very hard. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you, Councilmember Cortez. Councilmember Flores.
I don't know why this bridge came up, so let me apologize for that. But anyways, I just wanted to come on here and just continue to encourage our residents to participate in our council meetings and to thank them, and actually, just push them to continue to send me messages and let us know, what it is that you're looking for in the community. We know that we have a lot of issues, but it is your eyes and your ears that keep us, pushing forward for what is necessary for you. So thank you for that. And that'll be all for me. I hope you guys all have a wonderful evening. And oh yeah, one more thing. We're having the fitness classes that are the registration's already open. It is a mommy and me, daddy and me, family me time where you can bring your child. So it could be, if you have a toddler or a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old, whatever, you can bring your child, and it's a good time, where we can socialize and just work out together. And that's about it. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Councilmember Flores. Mayor Pro Tem Pulido.
I just want to thank all of our staff, not just our Parks and Recs staff, but also everyone at administration, community development, police department, public works, finance, city clerk, and legal services. You've worked so hard every single day to keep the city moving, and it's a collaboration. It's not just an effort for one individual department, and I think we have a great team. I'm very excited to have Grisel as part of our team. Without trying, I did get really good feedback, and some people from Norwalk told me that we're very lucky to have you, and they were very sad to see you go, but we're very excited to have you here. So thank you so much for joining us, and have a great night.
Thank you. And for my comments, I just want to thank all staff, just like all the rest of the council members did already. And I noticed that we do have a lot of announcements during the comment section of our meeting. And this reminds me of another person in the city that's doing a tremendous job. And that is Hyles. He's one of the persons that's in charge of our social media. And I want to encourage everyone to please go ahead and follow us on Instagram. Everything that you've heard here today, well, not everything, but most of the material, most of the announcements, they are very nicely presented to you in a quick and concise Instagram post that Hyles prepared for you guys. So the handle for the Instagram account is at City of Bell Gardens, I believe. And you also should look to follow at BG Recreation. So those two accounts, they provide so much valuable information in bite-sized format that you can just have in your pocket at any time. We work very hard on making the graphics look good. We have a very clean posts, and feel free to share those on your Facebook account, which we're also on Facebook. So basically what I'm trying to say here is follow us on social media, follow the City of Bell Gardens, because we are very active online and we take a great effort in making sure that you guys know what events are coming our way. So again, thanks to staff that handles that aspect of our operations here in the City of Bell Gardens. You guys are doing a great job. And thank you everyone for such a great meeting. Thank you, staff. And we'll see you 2 weeks from now. Have a good night, and meeting adjourned.